Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kirkpatrick Podcast. It is Vanessa, and there's a moment that happens in almost every organization trying to improve how they evaluate. At some point, someone says, we need to get better at measuring impact. And it sounds right. It sounds strategic. It sounds responsible. It sounds like progress. And then what happens next is almost automatic. The responsibility gets pushed down to L&D, to HR, whoever happens to be closest to the work. They're asked to build better surveys, collect more data, show stronger results, and everyone agrees, yes, we need to do better. But then, nothing really changes. Not in a way that sticks, not in a way that shifts performance, not in a way that changes how decisions are made. And that's not because people aren't trying. It's because the responsibility is sitting in the wrong place. Because evaluation does not survive based on effort. It survives based on leadership. The number one question: how do we ensure this sticks and scales? Leadership has to get bought in. So I was working with an organization not that long ago, large, complex, tons of moving parts. Does it sound like yours? Maybe it is. Just kidding. They were doing everything right on paper. They had the tools, they had the dashboards, they had the surveys, they were reporting. Their L&D team was strong. They cared deeply about evaluation. They were trying to connect their work to business outcomes, and they truly were working really hard to do it. But something just wasn't clicking. So I asked a very simple question. I said, when your leadership team reviews your programs, what do they ask you? And the answer was almost immediate. Do people like it? Have people completed it? Did we deliver on time? And I said, all right, are they asking what changed? And I got silence. And I said, do they ask what people are doing differently? More silence. Do they ask what improved because of this? And the answer was no. And at that moment, everything made sense to me. It wasn't that the team was failing. It was that they were responding to what leadership was asking for, because leadership couldn't see the fact that their L&D team or their HR team could give them more. They were used to the satisfaction scores, completion, delivery, because that's what was measured. That's what was being discussed. So that's what's going to continue to be reinforced. When you continuously provide those same metrics to your leadership, they're going to assume that's as far as you can go. So no amount of better tools, no amount of stronger surveys, no amount of effort was actually going to change that, because the problem wasn't in capability. It was in leadership and in their brand. See, leaders determine whether evaluation survives. It's not the tools, not the frameworks, not the dashboards. It's the leaders. Because leaders define what gets measured, what gets discussed, what gets prioritized, and ultimately what improves. And this isn't theory. You can see it in every organization, because people don't align to strategy decks. They align to behavior. That's why leaders can put out all the strategic plans in the world, but they just put it out there and no one, and they're not working towards it and not constantly talking about it and asking people to align to that strategic plan. They're not going to align to it. People align to behavior. They align to what they see, how others are responding, how others are reacting. More specifically, what I'm saying is they align to the behavior of that leader. What leaders consistently ask about becomes what the organization prioritizes. So if leaders are asking, did people like it? Did we hit completion? Did we deliver on time? That's what's going to get optimized. That's what we're going to deliver. But if leaders are asking what changed, what improved, and what are we doing differently because of this, that's what gets optimized. And over time, that becomes the culture. Now, here's where this gets a little uncomfortable, because most leaders would say, I support evaluation. I believe in measurement. I want better data. I want to know what worked. And I do believe that is true. But support is not the same as ownership. Support looks like, proving evaluation efforts, funding some tools, encouraging teams to measure, but still asking the same questions. Did we deliver? Did we complete it? Ownership is different. Ownership looks like using evaluations to make decisions, stopping things that are not working because you have the data that shows it's not working, challenging teams when results don't show change, but challenging them respectfully. And here's the truth, the real, me, I'm from Jersey, the real Jersey hard truth. You can support evaluation and still undermine it at the same time. Because if leaders don't use evaluation as their foundation, as their building block, as their North Star, the organization won't either. Whether or not they realize this, leaders are constantly signaling what matters. Not through what they say, through what they ask, what they reward, what they tolerate, and what they ignore. If evaluation only comes up occasionally, it's not a priority. If it's part of every conversation, though, it becomes embedded. If teams are rewarded for speed, completion, and output, that is what they are going to optimize for. But when they're rewarded for behavior change, performance improvement, better decisions, that is what they're going to optimize for. And so what leaders miss is that we're not just setting expectations, we're shaping how people think. It's like, you break up with a significant other and they're like, oh, I'm going to show you, they say all the right things. They say how much they miss you and they want to come back and, this and that. And it's like, okay, well, but show me the effort. Because what you're saying doesn't actually align to your actions. When I look at your actions don't show that you want to improve, that you want to work on the relationship, you want to better yourself. Your actions show me that you want to do the opposite. And so what I'm reacting to is not your words, but your actions. That's why no amount of mission statements or values, right, on the wall in your office is going to actually change anything until your behavior changes. When leadership isn't actively driving evaluation is inconsistent, fragmented, and personality driven. You hear it. We hear, it depends on the team. We're trying to get better. And that language tells you everything you need to know. Evaluation is optional. There's something else that's always going to take priority when it's optional. When anything is optional, it will always lose to urgency. Evaluation won't fail because people don't care. It fails because leadership has to make it a non-negotiable. At the end of the day, the amount of workshops I do for L&D teams to get aligned, trust me, I love it. I love working with you all. And the wrong people are in the room. Your leadership is not also in the room with you to get aligned as to why this is important. It just won't matter. It's going to stay exactly where it is within your function. So when you go to ask another department for their data to do some level 4, measurement, right, and tie to KPIs, that's when you get the resistance. Why do you want my data? What are you going to do with it? That's mine, not yours. Or we don't have it. Leadership has to kick this off and make it a requirement throughout the organization. They have to show backing to the work that you all do. That story I shared earlier, it's not unique. I've seen it in that same pattern over and over again. Different organizations, different industries, same issue. When I realized we weren't dealing with a measurement problem, we were dealing with a leadership problem, that became the spark for the book. It's meant to inspire. It's meant to show what's possible. It's not a how-to book. What it is that vision, that North Star that you can follow, that you can aspire to, that you can look towards to show you what is possible to get you there. And then we've got the accompanying resources to help you with the how-to. Evaluation is not a measurement activity. It's a leadership system. It's how leaders define success, evaluate progress in the organization, and decide what happens next. And if you're listening to this and thinking, this sounds really familiar, this feels like us, that's exactly where the Learning Impact Maturity Assessment comes in. Because it doesn't just show you what you're measuring, it shows you where there might be some alignment breakdown and what you can do with it, how you can fix it. At the end of the day, evaluation won't survive because people care. People care about a lot of things. It won't survive because you introduce a framework. And it won't survive because you invested in tools. It survives because leaders demand it. If leaders don't lead evaluation, it doesn't happen. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. Bye.